How come the St. Louis Blues can't stop winning? Let's talk about it here on Locked On Blues.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about what has changed for the Blues and why I believe they all of a sudden have this newfound motivation. Also, we're going to look ahead to the rest of the regular season, only a few games left for the Blues. And these are games, some manageable and winnable. Others will be challenging. And of course, the one thing that I have been getting from all of you Blues fans is, hey, this kind of feels like 2019. And I have to say, I agree with you that I am getting that same type of buzz too. But I am so excited for the Blues to be in the position that they're in right now. 87 points on the season. This team, following the break, has been 15-2-2. Let that sink in for a second. 15-2-2. And right now they're in the midst of a 9-game winning streak. Longest streak that this team has had since October of 2022. Now, again, while this is awesome and I am so pumped about it, I have to keep on asking myself, what do I think changed for this team? And I think pride changed a lot for this team. I would like to think back to prior before the break when this team was struggling. And for all of those that may not know about the Blues throughout the season, they did go through a coaching change with firing Coach Drew Bannister and hiring Coach Jim Montgomery, who was actually fired by the Bruins. I also think that he could win the Jack Adams this year. But again, that's just my opinion. I'm a little bit biased. But the Blues weren't playing good hockey. They were playing all right hockey, but not good hockey. And during the break, a player who has been absolutely lights out, Zachary Bolduc, he went down to Springfield. And for those that don't know, the Blues' AHL team is the Springfield Thunderbirds. And Zach Bolduc played a handful of games with them. Now, he did say that this was something that he felt like was right for him. And I have to agree. I know that he has had a fine season, especially now. It's a good season. I'll say that. But prior to the break, he wasn't playing as well as maybe people projected him to play. And I can sympathize with that. However, I think that for Zach Bolduc to head down to Springfield and to play those couple games really just shows the dedication that he has, not only to the sport, but to this team. Zach Bolduc right now is third amongst rookies in most goals scored this season. He is under Matvei Michkov. Well, no, it's actually Malcolm Celebrini now. And then Matvei Michkov is leading from the Philadelphia Flyers. So again, a competitive rookie class, but yet Zach Bolduc finds himself being Zach Golduc for the Blues. And I think that whole mentality with the Blues, though, just, keep on pushing. And again, this Blues team doesn't have some of the best players in the NHL. I look at this roster, right? And obviously my eyes are drawn to Robert Thomas, Jordan Binnington, Colton Parayko. I know Parayko's out right now, but those are the three guys that I think of when I think of elite players on the Blues. However, when somebody else who maybe isn't a Blues fan looks at the Blues roster, they might say, oh, Jordan Binnington, and that's it. And I credit this a lot to the Blues being in a smaller market. Now, again, I watch every single Blues game. I talk to the players when they come to my town, and I've been a Blues fan. So I'm a little bit biased in that sense. However, for somebody that doesn't know much about the Blues, I can understand why you might think, hey, how is this team winning right now when they don't have a star player like the Oilers with a Connor McDavid? You get what I'm saying? It just seems to me like that's the biggest question surrounding the Blues. And individually, all of these players actually do have a lot of talent. I know all players do, but individually these guys do. I mean, you look at Ryan Suter, who has played the most games in the NHL right now amongst active players. And again, that's a huge milestone. We have a couple guys on the team that have played over 1,000 games. Most recently, Brayden Chen, who was also the captain. So there is a lot of talent individually. Now, again, I understand you may not know much about a Tyler Tucker or Matthew Kessel, but what I can say about Tyler Tucker, and this is why I bring him up, I know the defense isn't the Blues' strong suit, and I am fully aware of that. I get that. However, when Tucker is on the ice, usually he's on the third pairing. He does bring a lot of physicality, and that is something when he played for the T-Birds, who were the Blues' AHL affiliate team that I mentioned. That's how he played too. He plays hard, hence why he got that 2-year extension. And you can say what you want about Jordan Kyrou. He is somebody else who I feel like kind of gets a lot of slander, which, it's weird, right? There are certain players, and you have to ask yourself, why do people not like them? I don't know. But Jordan Kyrou right now in the season, 31 goals, 31 assists, 62 points, which is absolutely phenomenal. This is the third straight season where Jordan Kyrou has had 30 plus points. Again, the season isn't done yet. So there's still time for him. I mean, not 30 plus points, 30 plus goals. There is still time for him to get more goals. And I also want to talk to you really fast too about the point leader, and that is Robert Thomas. The Blues have played 75 games. Tomer has played 63. He was out for a little bit with his ankle injury. He came back sooner than expected, and that just goes to show the determination and the grit that Robert Thomas has. But Robert Thomas is a 1C, and he plays his position beautifully. 19 goals on the season. That may not sound impressive, but the 49 assists probably do. And he's also plus 16, which is great. 68 points total, by the way, for all those that wanted to know. But the reason why Robert Thomas is so important is he is one of the most underrated players in the NHL. You see, the thing about Robert Thomas is he is a fantastic playmaker. He may not be the player that always takes the shot, which does frustrate me sometimes, but he plays selflessly, not selfishly. And what that means is if he sees that passing the puck to whether it's a Holloway or a Kyrou or neighbors or, any of those guys, a Bushi is more beneficial than him taking the shot. But if he can set up the play, he will do that. And I think that's something that maybe a lot of athletes in the NHL don't do as often, just because everybody wants to be the guy that sets, that makes the shot and makes the goal. However, Robert Thomas does a really good job about setting that up. Another thing about Robert Thomas is his hockey IQ. Tomer knows how to read the ice like it's nobody's business. So I encourage you, the next time you watch the Blues, really pay attention to what Robert Thomas does, because he reads the ice so well and he knows how to utilize every inch of the ice that he has to. And his physicality has actually improved a lot more this year than previous years. I feel like that's something that I've been a little bit frustrated with him about, just due to the fact that I felt like in years past, not that he wasn't physical by any means, but this season it just seems like he stepped it up a little bit. And maybe that comes with the frustration of missing the playoffs for 2 consecutive seasons. But then there's another player that I feel like a lot of you might know, especially if you're Edmonton fans who hate watching this or just know anything about good up and coming players, and that is Dylan Holloway. Holloway has played in all 75 of the Blues' games with 26 goals, 36 assists, totaling 62 points so far, plus 20 on the season. Again, a great statistic. And the thing about Dylan Holloway is that I feel like he is having his breakout season. He is a top 6 forward on this Blues team, something that he would never achieve with the Oilers. But I think it just goes to show that when you put your trust in a player like a Dylan Holloway, good things will happen. I know that there's a lot of people that thought with the offer sheet guys, Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, that the Blues were overpaying them. You know what? Sure, they were, but the return that you're getting from both of them is something that I feel like just makes sense. It's something that fits well into this team. And again, I can't be upset about it. I mean, I look at Philip Broberg, played 62 games. He was out for injury for a little bit, but he eight goals, 19 assists, 27 points, and plus 20. So again, he is a player that I feel like too has really thrived under the Blues. I mean, Broberg usually does play on the second pairing, which I'm not surprised about. However, the one thing I will say about Philip Broberg and what I like most about him is that he is a two-way defenseman. So again, next time you're watching the Blues, pay attention to Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, because they really do excel here on the Blues. And I give a lot of credit to Edmonton for developing them. And I'm not saying that sarcastically by any means, but Edmonton obviously does a good job of developing their players. And I feel like these were two guys. I mean, first round draft picks in the 2019-2020 draft, and they came to St. Louis ready to play. So with all due respect, and I truly do mean that, Edmonton is good at developing their players in this system. Obviously, when it comes to goalies, Jordan Binnington, most people do know. Here's the thing about Binnington, right? Started in 49 games this season. Win total is 25. Loss total is 21. And 4 OTLs, right? Then we have Joel Hofer, 26 starts, 15 wins, 7 losses, 3 OTL. Here's the thing. I really do believe that Jordan Binnington gets underappreciated just because of the fact that the Blues team that he was playing with before they went on this hot streak wasn't necessarily that strong defensively. And I'm not going to say the defense is their strong suit because it's not. But when you watched him play in the Four Nations face-off, especially that final game where Canada defeated US, he looks phenomenal. And I just don't understand the hate towards Jordan Binnington. He's a great goalie, and I don't know. It's something that's always going to bother me. So instead of me getting flustered about it, I want to ask you, if you're listening and everydayer, why do you like or dislike Jordan Binnington? And does it even have to do with the game that he plays? Because he is very smart when it comes to positioning and playmaking and being able to read the ice. He is so good, and he's able to use his body to defend the net. Like, I just don't understand the Jordan Binnington hate. Again, positive episode today. And I want to talk to you about the rest of the Blues' schedule. But before I do so, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. This year, obviously, all the first seed teams made it to the Final Four. And all along, I said that Duke was going to win. I don't like Duke personally. I dislike Duke quite a bit, but I still think they're going to win. So I'm going to put my money on Duke. I know. However, it's going to make me money. So this is what you need to do. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Let's go talk about the rest of the Blues' regular season schedule. I hate, that's a big word, but that's how I feel, that hockey is almost over. Hopefully for the Blues, they play extended hockey in the playoffs. However, right now, 75 games out of the 82 games have been completed. That means they have a handful of games left, and they have a couple of games in this next stint that I am a little bit nervous about. Tomorrow night, the Blues host the Red Wings. Again, a team that I'm not necessarily concerned about. I feel like the Blues are due to lose soon, and I know that sounds really negative, but for me, I just have a really difficult time believing that this team can win out. Obviously, that Avalanche game, I did talk about it prior. This is what I'll say. The Blues showed up when they needed to, right? Got Bolduc, Bushi, got the job done. My problem was the fact that the Blues, to me at least, looked a little bit slower than they usually do, but they picked it up. And again, I can't be too upset about it. It's just a little bit frustrating. Again, the Avalanche are a really good team. They're 45, 26, and 3 on this season. And I give the Avs a lot of credit. I think that the Blues, they had one of their tougher games in this winning streak stretch. And I think at the end of the day, and I know that maybe you might disagree with me, that win means more than maybe a win against Nashville. And again, I'm not discrediting Nashville by any means, but it just goes to show how much perseverance this Blues team has. I mean, Bolduc scores on the power play first off, which is insane to me. It actually blows my mind because the Blues' power play, I mean, it wasn't great. And then quickly after, Nathan McKinnon scores and ties up the contest. In the second frame, nothing was scored. And then finally, by like the midway-ish point of the final frame, Bushi scores. And I mean, first off, Bushi coming back, by the way. Don't know if I mentioned that. He's back. But I think it just goes to show the perseverance that this Blues team does have. It was a good win. It was good win. Move on. Next. Okay. Then you have the Red Wings. Again, the Red Wings are a really interesting team right now. Just because they're not bad, right? I don't like calling teams bad, but they're not great. Okay? Obviously, when I think about people in the Red Wings, I feel like I talk about Lucas Raymond quite a bit. 73 points this season, and then obviously Alex DeBrincat. But either way, the Red Wings have been just kind of going through a tough bit of stretch. They had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game losing streak not too long ago. They defeated the Bruins in their most recent game. However, they had 2 losses in a row. So again, one of those teams where I feel like the Blues should win. They should win. However, it's the actual, will they win? Then they also host the Penguins on Thursday. Big game for the Blues, a big 2 points because the Penguins are a team that the Blues should beat. Penguins are one of the worst teams in the NHL this season, but they still have great players. Obviously, one of the best to ever play, Sidney Crosby, is on that team. But the Blues did lose to the Penguins in their last matchup in Pittsburgh. That's why I'm a little bit nervous and apprehensive about this game, just due to the fact that the Blues did not find a win against a team that is amongst one of the worst. Again, not that I'm saying I would rather the Blues lose against some of the better teams in the NHL, but it would install more confidence in me for the Blues to take care of business against some of these teams that are weaker than it is for them to take care of business against some of these teams that are better. So, yeah, that made sense, right? Anyways, after the Penguins, the Blues host the Avalanche. Again, it's going to be a rematch of the game from this weekend on Saturday. However, again, the Blues should take care of business with that one. They know what to do. They just saw them. Then the Blues go on the road for a tough stretch. It's going to be the Jets next Monday. Again, tough game. Edmonton on Wednesday in Edmonton. And then finally, they're finishing out their last road game of the season against the Kraken on Saturday. So, tough stretch of games. Finally, the Blues host the Utah Hockey Club April 15th, last home game and last game of the season, completing out all 82 regular season games. Whew! I don't know about you, but I am feeling a little bit on edge. I feel like when we're looking at potential points, again, I know that this team, it's hard for teams to win out, right? I don't know if I'm going to give the Blues the win against the Red Wings. I don't know. So let's go say they don't win. I think they're going to get the 2 points against the Penguins. Avs, I think they're going to get the 2 points. Jets, I think they're going to get 1 point. So we're at 5 points right now. Edmonton, I think they're going to get at least 1 point. So that's 6 points. The Kraken, they're going to get 2 points. So that's 8 points. And then Utah, I think they're going to win. So that will be 10 points. So either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're going to get 10 out of 14 points, I do believe, in their last slate of games. Then that brings the question, hey, Haley, how are the Blues looking compared to the rest of the wild card, race going on right now? Because, it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. And what I can tell you, maybe I'll pull up my statistics. I have a lot of statistics. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge, huge, huge stat nerd. So when it comes to the race of the wild card, as of now on March 31st, we have the Blues with 87 points, who are also tied with the Wild with 87 points for wild card 1. However, the Wild have 1 game in hand. Canucks are behind the Blues, 81 points, 1 game in hand. Flames, 80 points. They have 3 games in hand. That makes me a little bit nervous and apprehensive. And then you have Utah that has 78 points with 1 game in hand. I can safely say, well, not safely, I think Utah will be eliminated, right? So they're really looking at the 2 Canadian teams with Calgary and the Canucks. I don't know about the Canucks as I am as much concerned about the Flames. Obviously, the Flames with 3 games in hand makes me a little bit more nervous than the Canucks, just who have 1 game in hand. I mean, the Canucks, they find a way to go to overtime a lot, which I feel like is super beneficial for them to rack up those points. However, at the end of the day, I just can't go there just yet. Another thing that I find really interesting and just find myself scoreboard watching is the Wild, right? Because yesterday the New Jersey Devils defeated them. And right now, oh, good news. The Devils are up 1-0 on Minnesota. Tonight we have the Flames and Avalanche. You're going to want the Avalanche to win. And then I'm trying to see if there's any other games. Not a lot of games on Monday, which kind of annoys me, right? Tomorrow, though, big night for hockey. Tomorrow night for all of you hockey fanatics. You have the Flames in Utah tomorrow. You're going to want Utah to win in that game just because somebody needs to stop the Flames. And then obviously us and the Red Wings. However, on Wednesday, do we have any games on Wednesday that we need to worry about? Wild and Rangers. You're going to want the Rangers to win, and then it's the Kraken and the Canucks. You're going to want the Kraken to win. So basically what I'm saying is anybody that's playing against the Wild, the Canucks, and the Flames, you're going to want to win if you're a Blues fan. All right. Before I get into my final segment, again, thank you so much for watching and listening to Locked on Blues. My everydayers know how much talking about the Blues means to me. This is my team. I love talking Blues hockey, and we have such a great community here on YouTube, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Or if you want to follow on Twitter, I now live tweet during games, which is something that I'm doing that's new. So make sure to check that out at Locked on Blues. And again, always leave me down below your thoughts and feelings on the Blues, and I will usually address it on this episode. Does it feel like 2019? That is my number one most asked question. Haley, does it feel like the Magic's back? Well, okay, hold on. The one thing that I have learned when it comes to sports, right, is to never compare championships. It's to never compare runs. It's never to compare magical moments. 2019, that was special, okay? That was more than special. I mean, gosh, we had, Craig Berube that came in and everything changed. I mean, we had hometown legend Pat Maroon for a season. Like, there were so many things about that team that were forever special with me. And it's always going to be special. The number one thing when comparing 2019 to now is that this team is mostly a different team. I know there's still Jordan Binnington and Robert Thomas was on the team, Braden Shen, Pareko. I'm probably missing a couple guys, but that's not the point. The point is there's a lot of new faces. I mean, you may not remember this, but Jordan Kyrou was not on this team. He was still developing with the Thunderbirds during that time. And I know it sounds a little funny and ridiculous, but I don't want this vibe to be the 2019 vibe. I want this to be the 2025 vibe for this team. I'm not really much of a vibes person, right? I'm more about play hard, work hard, get the job done. But if vibes are what this team needs, then so be it. Like, I love Gloria, right? I do. But this team isn't that team. And I don't want anything to take away from how special that cup run was for our guys then. And I want this team to find their own identity. I want them to find something, either it's a song or anything that just speaks to them. I feel like so many times we compare and we contrast, and we always want to say something was like the past. But I don't get that vibe from this team. I get a team that's ironically a bunch of underdogs. The team that we had in 2019, I mean, I know they were underdogs. They were the worst team in the NHL in the West at the end of January, right? But this team has not as much talented players in a sense. For instance, Pat Maroon, O'Reilly, like there was, Jaden, like there was just so many guys on that team that, people just knew and they had so much talent. Bozak. And I'm now like naming random guys from that team. Thanks a lot. But I always like talking about that team. But this team just has a much different feel, at least to me. Yes, I guess it's the same vibe as they weren't doing well and they're going on this magical run right now. That I can agree on. But I just can't compare the two teams. They're so different. I mean, the one thing that stood out to me about that 2019 team was Pat Maroon. And I have a really difficult time seeing him in a Blackhawks sweater, by the way. But after he played here for his final game in Enterprise, And he talked about being a season ticket holder for the Blues and how much he loves it here in St. Louis because he's from here. I thought, how much of a Cinderella story was that for him to sign here for 1 year, to be closer to his son Anthony, right? And to win the Stanley Cup. Like, that is magical. And I don't think any of these guys had that same type of story, which is okay. Again, completely different team. But I think my main point in all of this is I want to keep 2019, 2019. I want to keep 2025, 2025. Different coach, a lot of different players, but most importantly, as much as I want to compare it to 2019, there is still so much that's different. But again, if you want to compare it, that's fine. I'm weird. I'm superstitious. Like, I don't want to jinx anything. But today's episode, it was fun. I love talking to you all. Obviously, it's Blues hockey. Who doesn't? And again, I do episodes every single day. I know there's a ton of new people checking out this channel. So thank you so much for watching. And how I end every single episode on this channel, by the way. In case you don't know, you can say it after me. 1, 2, 3. Let's go Blues.